Well, I have two pieces. I'm going to try to sneak them both in if I can. They're both about innocence, but they're about different kinds of innocence. So the first one starts at the beginning, back with Adam and Eve. Is everybody all right with going back to the beginning? I think we need a retelling. I think that whole story has fucked with us. And so here's my idea of how it really went.
Yeah.
On one fine day in Eden, so the story goes, boredom fell upon the garden and all hell broke loose. And in the end, Adam and Eve knew something they shouldn't have. And like a parent who punishes all the children when just one of them lies, God banished us. Like any good Italian girl from Trenton, New Jersey, who was raised half Catholic and half Jewish, I have pondered this story many times. It seems odd that knowledge was the problem, since it's usually ignorance that undoes us, and hubris, and being a know-it-all, and it's all a far cry from knowledge. Or maybe it's a translation issue. Maybe it wasn't knowledge, maybe it was understanding. Maybe one day Eve understood the power of her sex. Maybe she knew that she could withhold it and get Adam to do more chores around the garden. That she could keep it to herself if she wanted, or she might like to share herself with someone who was more, say, in her own image than Adam. And then maybe Adam figured out he didn't really need her permission, her invitation, her desire before he could enter her. He could just take her when he wanted. After all, he was bigger, stronger, when he was pissed off or to settle a fight or just to get Eve to shut the fuck up every once in a while. She was made from just one of his ribs. I mean, she was surely no match for him, the original. Then, there was the day he found her, writhing around in the garden like a common serpent, her own hands between her legs, in a fit of pleasure he'd never, ever witnessed when they were together. Why had she not told him, shown him, shared herself with him in this way? He was humiliated, could not look her in the eyes the rest of the day. He waited until dark that night to sink himself into her, wondering for the first time if it was enough, if she was satisfied. And then the next day, he wondered if he might pleasure himself better too. So he leaned up against the tree, tilted his head back, and drew his tongue over the palm of his hand so it might feel like the wetness inside Eve. His hand seemed to understand his body better than Eve's ever did. There was no hoping her fingers might collide with the sensitive spot, no need for patience if she went too slowly or frustration if she went too fast. He felt ease and joy in idly stroking himself on a lazy afternoon. The hissing of the serpent in the background, an apple falling to the ground as the branches shook from his pleasure. His eyes closed, his hands in full exploration of himself, loving his own hardness, his own touch. His mind was quiet. His thoughts of Eve and her pleasure and the intricacies and monotony of their life together, gone. Until the sound of a single bite of apple cut through the air. Adam's eyes flew open, his hands froze, and he discovered Eve beside him, slowly chewing, smiling. She leaned against the tree, put her head on his shoulder, handed him the apple. The serpent hissed again and curled around them as if to say, "What have you two done?" They would leave that night, packing just a few things without a word passing between them, willing to give it all up, the monotony of perfection, the certainty of their safety, the endless provisions of the bountiful garden, for this, to know themselves fully, to love one another through flaws, to understand the depth of their passions, banishing themselves from Eden on the chance there was something more. Yeah, that whole nothing went down in the garden, who thinks that's bullshit? It's bullshit, right? They were innocent and then okay. So this next one is called First Time, and it's a different loss of innocence. It's one of my own. I'm not going to give it away. It's the first time something happens, let's put it that way. And we have this big thing on virginity, whatever the, hell that was. And, or, I don't know, can't remember it. But I think there's like a lot of first times. I think having first times are important. I think when you stop having a first time for something, you might as well just give up. So this is one of my first times. I'm late, but I go anyway. Only a half hour, maybe it's enough, maybe it's too long. I've thought about it all day, a chance to be out of control. Isn't that why I came? I get to the door and knock, but it's already open. I push it and go in. I call out to him, but only the cat answers. Cassandra Wilson is playing in the background, my favorite. I know every word. How does he know this about me? I find him in one of two red leather chairs. Glass of wine and candle on the table. He doesn't get up to greet me. I don't want him to. Suddenly, the rush to get here slows into finally being here. What do you want? I want you to be in charge. I shiver a little when I say it. Do you want them in the front or the back? I want you to be in charge. Do you want your clothes on or off? I want you to be in charge. He finally gets it. He takes my shirt off and tells me I have a beautiful body for ropes. I shiver again. My pants apparently are staying on. It's just as well for now. It's enough to adjust the ropes encircling my breasts, weaving down my back, arms cinched behind me. The wrapping takes many minutes. It will take this long to get back out again, I think. My heart races a bit at the thought and then slows again until finally I am in. He turns me to face him and takes a long, long look. Under the weight of his gaze, I relax, a little giddy even, relieved. He asks me more questions about what I want. My answer remains the same. I want you to be in charge. He's looking for my edges, but he falls off his own before he finds one of mine. He calls me the queen of maybe. Like everyone else, he thinks I'm such a player when all I really am in this moment is shy, unsure, turned on, open. He calls me a tough cookie, but really, I'm just on a ride, and for once in my fucking life, I am not the one in charge. So yes, bend me over the chair, run your nails over my ass, pull my hair back, make me wonder what you'll do next. He asks me how I'm feeling. He notices I can't talk, and so he asks again, and I say, I'm fine. And then I admit, a little scared. But just a little, and I don't say stop. I hang out there on the edge. What am I scared of? And an entire village of stories rushes in, tales of being taken when I didn't want to be, and the way it trains you to control everything all the time, and the way it robs you of the freedom to be taken when that becomes your deepest desire, and the way you create a container around you to keep yourself safe, and then that very container becomes your prison. There's more room to play there, in the shadows of yes and no, and why and how much, and the place where I became a maybe. And the place where I might finally drop over the edge, take the exquisite free fall into myself, explore the paradox of being bound to break free. But I'm not interested tonight. Tonight, all I care to feel are the places where the ropes are digging into my shoulders, how it feels when he holds my hands tenderly behind me 1 minute and then pulls me tighter into myself the next. My shoulder is sore from the tugging, and so he loosens it a bit. He holds me, and our necks and heads caress. I tell him I feel like I should be doing something, touching him, responding, giving. He just smiles and says, isn't it a relief? Finally, he kisses me on the lips. When he pulls back, he looks into my eyes and laughs, a little uncomfortable. Was that too intimate? He asks. No, I say, it's what I wanted. I wanted you to kiss me without having to ask. He kisses me again with more passion and confidence this time. We know without looking at watches or cell phones that time's up. We have come far enough for one day. Slowly, I am unraveled in more ways than one.
Yeah!